Are you spending too much time watching YouTube videos or other social media content? In today's video, I'll share my experience with doom scrolling and insight that I gained from a tarot reading. Hi everybody, I'm Sue Ellen Clayton. Welcome to my channel where we're learning how to read tarot one card at a time. In today's video, we'll be using a 3-card spread to answer the question, how can I stop watching political podcasts? I will be using the Radiant Rider-Waite Tarot, and there is a link below. This video is based on my personal journey with watching political podcasts on YouTube, in addition to TV news. I went down this road in both the 2016 and 2020 elections, and I know it is not good for me. However, I have once again been sucked into this, and it feels like an addiction. I tell myself that I'll stop, and I can't. So I decided it was time to do a tarot reading. The question I asked is, how can I stop watching political podcasts? I am filming this on August 13th, 2024, and I'm sure that the specifics will have changed by the time you watch this. However, I'm also pretty sure that the reading will still be relevant. Just for context, in the past 6 weeks in the United States, we had a presidential debate where Trump lied extensively and Biden performed terribly. Then we had an assassination attempt on Trump choosing a pretty radical running mate, and the Democratic Party in disarray with calls for Biden to resign. Eventually, Biden resigned, Kamala Harris became the presidential candidate, she picked a running mate, and is now surging in the polls and speaking to large crowds. Meanwhile, Trump is still doing his usual shtick. I know who I am voting for and do not need to be following podcasts to see what Trump and Harris are up to on an hour-by-hour basis. At least that's what my brain tells me as I'm clicking on the next YouTube video. I'm using a past, present, future spread and drew 3 cards. In the past position, I drew the 6 of Pentacles. In the present position, I drew the 7 of Pentacles reversed. And in the future position, I drew the Tower. Let's start with my first impressions. We have 2 Pentacles cards. Pentacles represent health and wealth. In this case, I think they represent my mental health and how it is being impacted by watching podcasts. The other card is the Tower in the future position. This card is about turmoil, trauma, and destruction. It doesn't look like I will be in a good place if I keep this up, which was not a surprise. Now let's look at each card individually. Card number 1 is in the past position, and I drew the 6 of Pentacles. This card represents influences or events from the past, such as experiences or unresolved issues that have shaped my current addiction to political news. In this case, I believe that the man who is standing represents the media, including my fellow YouTubers who are making some amazing content about the political world. And I see myself as the person in yellow. And my feeling is that I am bowing down to the media. I do not look like I am the one in control. I am the one who is being manipulated or targeted. Media Man is holding scales, which I think represents his agenda, which is to get more views. The more attention I give, the more money he earns. My attention is being rewarded. In my case, the reward isn't money. It's all about the neurotransmitters that are flooding my brain. There are many, but the biggest is dopamine. I'm not a neuroscientist, but I'm going to give a very basic explanation because part of my addiction is actually biochemical. Our brain releases dopamine, which is a feel-good hormone, in response to pleasurable activities, such as watching a YouTube video, and that makes me want to repeat the experience. It's the same thing that happens when you drink and you like the fact that you forget all your troubles. However, eventually our brain's reward system becomes less sensitive to dopamine, so we need more to achieve the same effect. To continue with the alcohol analogy, you've now gone from drinking a glass of wine after work to drinking a box. It's much more complicated and there are many more chemicals than dopamine involved, but it explains why I've gone from watching 1 or 2 podcasts per day to checking YouTube first thing in the morning to see what I missed. You can see the scales. The media is competing for my attention. The better the thumbnail and title, the more it sucks me in. I am literally begging for more. Yet we also see the person in blue. I've always interpreted this card as someone who is begging, but it isn't working. When I look at it now, it's almost like his hand is out in a "What are you doing?" kind of expression. He's looking at me and not media man. He's not engaging with the media at all. He's also not a target. The media man isn't interested in him, and he's not interested in media man. This card is about what happened in the past. As I mentioned in my introduction, I have been down this road before. I'm sure the YouTube algorithm knows me better than I know myself. When I researched this video, I also learned about something called doomscrolling, which is the act of reading large amounts of negative or depressing news, generally on social media. It happens a lot for people with anxiety, which I have, because it gives you a sense of control. I should say that it gives you a false sense of control. Doomscrolling leads to increased stress, anxiety, sadness, anger, and uncertainty about the future. Lovely. Doomscrolling was a term coined during COVID. Other than during election cycles, that's when I really got into following the news. I live on Long Island, New York, and we were hit hard with COVID early on. Every day I'd read the local news about how many people were hospitalized and how many had died. And then my husband and I would watch a news network for a few hours at night. Then we had an insurrection in January 2021, and that added fuel to the fire. At one point, I told my husband, I have to stop watching nonstop news. We settled on a 30-minute ABC News report at 6:30 p.m., and I stayed off the news channels until a few months ago. So what's in my past? A lot of angst over U.S. politics and election results, plus my history of anxiety and a bunch of brain chemicals that are reinforcing my addiction, plus many algorithms who continue to serve up content that I can't resist. And whenever I click on something, I give the algorithm more proof that I want to see more of it. You've made it this far in the video, and I wanted to stop and ask for a favor if you're not already a subscriber, and that is to please hit the subscribe button. It's free for you, and it will help me to grow this channel. Plus, it means that you won't miss anything. Thanks so much, and if you're already a subscriber, I truly appreciate your ongoing support. Now let's get back to the video. The second card represents the present position, and I drew the Seven of Pentacles reversed. This card reflects challenges and opportunities that are happening currently, including my thoughts, emotions, and actions. Currently, I've moved from watching TV news to watching videos online. There's just so much to cover now. Rallies that are well-attended and those who are not. Will there be a debate or won't there? Criticism about policies and military service. People who doubt that Harris can be both Indian and Black. It's interesting, as I was writing this paragraph, I could feel my stomach tightening and my anxiety growing. Focusing on this does not put me in a good headspace. So let's look at the Seven of Pentacles. In the upright position, we see the farmer taking a break and resting his hoe. He has been working hard. Now he's looking at the pentacles. We don't know what he's thinking. Is he congratulating himself for doing a good job? Does he believe there's another way to approach the problem? Or is he angry that one of the pentacles has fallen and he's chastising himself for being a failure? In the upright position, I feel like this is me looking at my computer. Each pentacle represents a newly uploaded political video. There are so many. I don't want to miss anything, but also I don't want to watch them. I'm exhausted and I know I need a break. But what if I miss a piece of information, like the coin that has fallen on the floor? Pentacles traditionally represent health and wealth. In this case, I think that the pentacles represent my mental health. I can also interpret this as me stopping to reflect on how I'm doing. We can see that one coin is on the ground, so that piece of my life is not going well. Basically, I'm pondering the consequences of my news addiction and how it is impacting my life. In the reverse position, the Seven of Pentacles can indicate a lack of effort or a lack of commitment towards reaching my goals. I don't know that this is true. I really have been trying. I actually think that some of my issues are biochemical. Something else the reverse card can represent is impatience and frustration. I feel like I've tried to stop with the doom scrolling without success. In the third and future position, we see the Tower. This card suggests what may happen if I continue on my current path. Honestly, I don't think anybody wants to see the Tower in their future. I was journaling about this reading, and this is what I wrote. Quote, "This will not end well for me. I will destroy my mental health." Unquote. I just have to make a comment here about reading for ourselves. It's like when you get the death card. We know that it rarely means that someone is actually going to die. More likely, it signals a period of transformation and new beginnings. But when you're reading for yourself, your first thought isn't, "Wow, I got the death card. It's so nice to know that one chapter of my life is ending and a new one is beginning. I wonder how much I'll be able to grow from this experience." No, you have this visceral reaction that you're not going to wake up tomorrow morning. And that's what happened when I got the Tower card. Yes, it can mean destruction, which is exactly where my mind went, but it can also represent a wake-up call, breaking unhealthy patterns, a crisis that leads to change, and the opportunity to rebuild something. And I think all of those things are true for me. The first step to getting better is recognizing that you have a problem. The Tower card lets me know that my future can go either way. I can continue down this doom-scrolling path for the next 2.5 months until the election, and probably afterwards, depending on whether the election results are considered to be legit, or the narrative shifts to Project 2025 and we're sailing into fascism. I wanted to share what I learned from this reading. Did it answer the question, how can I stop watching political podcasts? And I think it did. In card number 1, I looked at my past and the feeling that I had been successfully manipulated by the media who are competing for my attention. I also looked at my history of doom scrolling. I figured out that looking for information started out as a way to calm my anxiety, but now it is having the opposite effect and actually fueling my anxiety. The second card, the 7 of Pentacles reversed, represents the present position. Currently, I've tried to stop with the doom scrolling because I realize it's not good for me, but I haven't been able to stop. I think that some of the reason is the biochemical reward system in my brain that encourages me to keep scrolling. In the third and future position, we see the Tower. I think I have 2 choices. I can continue on my current path, which leaves me feeling overwhelmed and anxious, or I can figure out a way to stop. I can recognize that there is hope, as I stopped previously by creating boundaries around the news shows that I watched. I also think that I need to do some research into neurotransmitters and addiction and actually create a plan, because trying to use willpower so far has not been successful. I don't drink or smoke, so it's easy for me to tell somebody to just stop because your addiction is clearly hurting your body. But it's not that simple if you've been abusing alcohol or nicotine for a couple of decades. At this point, I think that relying on willpower for a solution, for me, is too simplistic. I hope that this video gave you some ideas that you can apply to your tarot practice. Please leave a comment if you'd like to share what you've learned. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.